So do you have like a risk kind of matrix or like a series of questions that you ask yourself when you are going up against a risky decision that you kind of go, is it as simple as what's the worst that can happen?
Yeah. That's what I was going to say. What's the worst case scenario here? What's like the worst thing that can possibly happen?
Yeah.
But then...
And then also what's the reward?
What's
for
the best
example,
case
like a
scenario?
perfect example today, there was a photo, like we had a shoot last week, on Monday actually, and there was a photo that we just weren't quite sure about. We had like hundreds of incredible images from this shoot, and we're like, you know what? We're not sure about it. Like, this image is going to make no difference to the business if we use it or not. The only thing that can happen is if we use it and it's taken badly, like it's a risk. And so like that image we like parked.
Yep.
But then, if it was like something like putting a boob down, the giant boob down the Yarra River, we're like, okay, we think this is going to be really impactful. It like really gets our message across. Like, yes, we're being censored by all these tech platforms. It's not good enough. We want we want them to do better. We want to, make it clear that like, it's just a boob. And so like for us, that was a risk worth taking. And so I think that's kind of how we broach it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. Now, going back to kind of when you started and those building blocks, I know obviously you focus very heavily on brand, and it's super clear that was a focus for you guys. But tactically speaking, when it comes to kind of getting the word out there, you probably didn't have a huge amount of cash to invest in the activities that you were doing to get the word out there. Like, you probably couldn't invest in the giant boob up front. So what did you do before the boob that helped build your community and kind of get the brand out there and launching the business, so to speak, tactically?
Well, another shout out to Grace and the Zero Movement.
We love Grace.
We planned, it's actually my favourite activation that we've done.
This
for
is
our
the parking
launch.
ticket one.
Yeah, the G-strings on the cars.
Yeah.
So when we launched, you're 100% right. Like, no one knows who the fuck Nala is. Like, who's Nala? Like, also for a bra brand as well, like, you need so much trust in a brand.
Absolutely.
That's going to create products that actually are good quality that support you. So we knew we had to like get the brand out there. And so what we did is planted G-strings on people's cars around Bondi with a little like handwritten note that said, hey, you left these at my place last night. XX Nala.
Love it.
And we got a photographer there and we captured all this amazing content of people lifting up these G-strings being like, what the hell is this? And then we used that content to post in a lot of the local Facebook groups like Bondi, the Bondi local, whatever it's called, Bondi.
Yeah.
Local
group. Yeah.
And some other local groups. And these posts within those groups went viral with hilarious comments like, you almost caused a divorce between me and my
gosh,
partner.
I love that.
And things like that. And so that was huge.
And then we like got media picked up on
Media picked up. There was like a Daily Mail article about it. Like, Bondi wakes up to G-strings on cars, like
Amazing.
stuff like that.
I think the other strategy that we're able to like go with that really helped is like, we're lucky that our cost of goods are relatively low.
Yep.
And our values as a brand align with a lot of influencers. So when we first launched, we were able to send out a lot of product, get it in people's hands.
Yep.
I think honestly, the first time I kind of felt like we were onto something was when like we were sending stuff to influencers, and then we'd see, because at the time we were getting like, 20 orders a day maybe. And then all of a sudden we'd see that influencer like order their own product, and we'd be like, okay, like we're onto something here. But like having products and values as a brand that align with those people, they're really happy to talk about it for low investment from our part, and that got the word out there initially and built a lot of momentum with that launch campaign that Chloe discussed, and I think that got us going.
I think
for low cost.
Yeah, I think that's a really important thing to flag. Like, I have an e-com business as well. And it's, again, going back to like the behavioral psychology side of things, there's this concept that, if I put a teacup in front of you and I say, you can't touch it, you just look at it, how much do you think it's worth? Most people sit around the like $15 to $20 mark, right? From that study. If I then say to that same group of people, okay, now pick it up, play with it, touch it, interact with it, feel it, now tell me how much you think it is. And people almost double the value once they can touch it. Right? And I think that it's the same thing. And it's like, unless people, especially with underwear, like unless people can like feel it and try it and like wear it, there's this hesitancy to actually invest in something like that, because they're like, well, what I've got at the moment is okay.
Yeah. And
the risk for me to change it and not like it is too high. And it's the same as, our product, which is a, crispy chili oil business. People, once they try it, become super fans.
Hey, just a quick one. If you are loving this episode, help us grow and reach more people by hitting the subscribe button and leaving a review.
And so we've then started working with restaurants and cafes to get it on the menu as opposed to just becoming a stockist. Because once people try it, they're like, of course I'm going to buy a jar. And then they keep buying a jar. So I think you guys did something really important there where you kind of put the product in people's hands, which was a low cost investment from your point of view. But then that experience and that tangible interaction with the brand then allowed this like super fan base to kind of grow. And then, you know, when I love something, I tell my friend about it.
Exactly.
And that's just kind of naturally how it kind of builds. Now, you have a loyal, you know, community, and it's still growing and it will continue to grow. This loyal community and this loyal following, you know, what's the secret, do you think? You know, you've got a Pilates business, you've built a community from very early on, and then that's kind of translated over to Nala now. Is there any elements that you've both learned that you're like, this is fundamental for building a community?
Yeah, we were actually just talking about this on the way here. We think there's like two parts to it. One is creating a product that people really feel passionate about, which has been huge for us. And then the second part is having a brand with values that align with yours. So for us, we had really strong values from the outset of building Nala, and we've really stuck to those. And we try and really embed those values within different elements of the business. And we always come back to them as a team as well. And I think those things are critical for building a community. But I will say, I never imagined the Nala community to grow into what it is now.
I love that. What surprised you the most about the community that you've got today?
There's a genuine community. Like I used to,
genuine. It's
I used to think
Yeah.
like I used to like. I remember before Nala, like hear brands, oh, we've built this community, and I kind of like wanted to like vomit. I had like vomit in my mouth a little bit.
It's so lame. Like community. It's also like such an overused word.
Yeah,
like,
it's a buzzword.
well, yeah. But it's true, and we see it. Sometimes we laugh. We have like social medias where we go through.
Yeah.
We go through the content and we go through the week and the engagement and everything. Like, say we put up a photo that's something like a bit controversial, a bit out there, and a comment will come in that's a bit negative about it. We don't have to do anything. We'll just like sit back and like
that.
the Nala like fans, like the stands will like get in there and just like literally just fight for us. And we just we'll sit back and be like, how did this happen? But it's the coolest thing ever. They get it. Like they drink the Kool-Aid. They love the values and they're happy to stand up for Nala.
Yeah.
Like it's pretty cool.
It's amazing. Now, I have a question because we haven't quite touched on it. Nala, the name, where did it come from?
This is a heartbreaking story.
That's a bit dramatic.
Yeah, it's okay. No, that's a good
like,
hook.
Who died?
That's a good hook. I was like, Jesus Christ, I've asked
Marketing
the wrong
brain
question.
hook. Yeah.
Basically, we originally had called the brand Jungle, and we'd done all our branding, like had really invested in tone of voice,
Like
in our
that name.
like visual identity.
It's a jungle out there.
It's a jungle
Good
out there.
tagline.
All those kind of things.
How good is that? I know. I'm still a bit gutted.
And we'd but before we'd like sort of invested in like developing the brand, we'd got advice from lawyers like, yep, you're gonna be okay trademark wise. Submitted our trademark application, got rejected, appealed, got rejected again. And like it was at the point where like we had to like put our brand on the labels of our products in like the next couple of weeks and had to make a quick pivot. And for like 2 weeks, we like racked our brains trying to come up with any name that worked.
It's hard.
It was really hard.
Yeah,
and then
is so
eventually someone, I can't, we always kind of can't quite remember who came up with it.
I thought it was you.
Yeah, I don't know. We came up with Nala and it just felt so right. And like, we actually.
Now it is Nala. Like
Yeah.
it just, yeah.
It works.
Yeah. And we,
It works.
honestly, I prefer it to Jungle,
prefer
although
it.
Jungle's still great. Like, yeah.
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 R.I.P.
Yeah.
R.I.P. to jungle.
There's
No, I
a
think that's-
brand called Jungles, and that was like they didn't specifically like, but the like sort of government said, oh, it was too close to that. And when I ever see their ads like flash up on my like Insta, I'm like,
Honestly, it's the same as me. Like when I came up, like I wanted a name that had a story,
Yeah.
right? But I'm like, I also didn't want something that was just like bang or like just a short, like meaningless word. And me and my graphic designer who we're doing an episode with, we were like, right, like put our heads together and we're like, coming up with names. We landed on this name and we loved it. We were like lemonade. The whole idea of like when life gives you lemons, like we'll give you lemonade.
I love that.
When you only have, a certain amount of cash, we'll make the best lemonade that we can out of that. And went to go register it, and this woman in Adelaide had registered it like 3 months before me, and I was like, but it's the same, right? And then we landed on Gambit, which there's a whole story behind it, but I think now it just seems like it wouldn't be called anything else now that you've kind of been doing it for such a long period of time.
It like takes on its own persona.
Absolutely.
Like, Nala is a beast. It's its own human.
What does Nala look like if Nala was a person?
Oh, that's a good question. We did that very early on, didn't we?
Yeah,
the brand.
I don't think there's like a person.
I just visualize Nala from The Lion King.
Same. Honestly, it's where my head goes.
Queen of the Jungle.
So
Queen of the Jungle.
One of our developers recently, she's really into anime, and she brought up this anime character. I'm gonna forget her name, and she's like,
I've got no idea what anime is.
Nala is this person because she's like fierce and sexy and
confident,
and so maybe it's this anime character.
I need to find,
Oh my gosh, we'll have to find it. Yeah. We'll layer it over the little social cuts. No, I love that. Now, you obviously it goes without saying when you look at your site or your socials or anything like that, you're extremely inclusive. You're diverse. Range of models. Colours, ethnicities, sizes, bust sizes, hip sizes, genders, like binary, non-binary. You focus very much on the entire spectrum of anybody that would want to wear your underwear. How important is it, the last 10 years that I've spent in advertising and marketing agencies, you see a lot of businesses and brands that tick the boxes when it comes to sustainability, diversity, inclusivity. How important is it for you guys to collaborate with people that know what they're doing when it comes to kind of sustainability, or are kind of experts in that field when it comes to sustainability, diversity and inclusivity?
Yeah, it's huge. When we set out with Nala, we had our sort of our ethical guidelines, our non-negotiables. Yeah. We didn't want to just tick a box. We didn't want to just say like, okay, yeah, we'll use a fabric that is like mostly sustainable, or like has like 10% recycled ingredients, but the rest will be like whatever. I don't know. And you can very easily do that. Like I feel like no one really looks into it. No. But we didn't want to do that. We didn't just want to tick a box. So we did a lot of research into sustainability, but then also when it comes to our gender neutral products, we didn't know much at all about it. Yeah. So we worked with the Equality Project, who are an amazing organisation in Australia. They do a lot of training. They go into businesses and different organisations and do trainings around how to create more inclusive spaces for the LGBTQIA plus community. And they came in and did a training for us. And after, we were like, hey, would you actually help us connect us with people or help us try and develop these products? Yep. And they connected us with some amazing trans women who were instrumental in us developing these products and this range. So that was huge for us, and it was a big challenge to develop these products. It took a long time, but we knew that we wanted to do more than just say, okay, here's a product that we've designed and tested on women, but can be worn by anyone, of course. And we won't call it women's underwear because it can be worn on anyone. But the reality is it's going to fit differently on different bodies. It's going to fit differently on a cis woman to a trans woman. So we wanted to make sure those products were specifically catering to each person's individual needs, and that really enabled us to do that. When it came to sustainability, they
were probably some of our most, like the products that went through the most test wearing rounds. Like we were doing things like not many, like had been done, but like not in Australia, and like very few brands had done it, and like the quality of products were like okay. And we just did round after round because we couldn't get it right. Eventually we got it to a point that we were really proud of, and I think the community is really proud of it because they can see, okay, like they've actually tried to create a product that works for me. They're not just talking about me or pretending that they care, like they actually care. And I think that was important.
I've also seen, since we've launched, even a lot of brands that have tried but haven't really committed 100%. Yeah. And they get torn apart.
Of course.
So I don't know, we're really proud of that part of the business.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's an all or nothing approach, right? Yeah. Like I feel like, again, like if you dabble in it, you'll be found out straight away.
Exactly. It's not good enough
No.
anymore.
And I mean, I think it's the same, like even in our industry, you know, you have workplaces that are like, we're inclusive, like, you know, we're a people's brand, like we're a people's agency, blah, blah, blah. Then you get in there, you spend 2 weeks in there and you're like, you don't give a fuck about these people.
Yeah.
Like literally. And I think it becomes really obvious when you say one thing and your actions don't match to that, or the products that you develop don't match that. And it's quite evident that you guys have done the work, and it is harder. Like it is harder to do it, but it pays off because that's the audience that you're serving. And I think it comes back to that concept of, you know, if you stand for nothing, you'll fall for anything. And it's the same, right? Like if you guys don't have a brand that you sit there and you're like, no, we need to invest our time, energy and money into making this sustainable, inclusive, accessible and diverse, versus doing it half-assed and then letting down the community that you were set up to serve.
100%. Exactly. Nailed it.
Yeah.
Hey guys, if you are listening on Spotify, don't forget to leave us a 5-star rating. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the Q&A function on Spotify.
I'm really interested, and I think we spoke about it briefly before we started filming. You two are obviously married.
We are.
And you work together. And you
We
have
do.
a very different set. You have a very different skill sets. Now, I have a business, my Chili Boy, Spicy Boy business is with my ex. We still runs together. People are very confused that we still get along and we have a great relationship. But it works because I know where my role plays in the business. Mm-hmm. He knows where his role plays in the business, and they're not the same. So what advice do you have for somebody that might be in, you know, business with their partner or their friend or a family member? Is there stuff that you've learnt that you're like, God, we wouldn't do that again? Or is there stuff that you're like, this is what makes this relationship work?
I think
You're like, no.
I could
comment.
I could talk about this for so long.
I love working with Chloe. I think it's been great.
How much did you get paid to say that? No, I'm joking.
No, I really
Just
do.
like,
It's like
be nice.
Be nice. I don't know. We got asked like, not the same question, but like no, it was me. You weren't there. Like someone was interviewing me and asked like, what's it like working with your husband? And I hadn't prepared for it, and I was like,
you threw me under the bus.
I completely threw you under the bus. And then afterwards, I was like, I don't know, maybe it was just a hard morning or something. I was being a bit dramatic and over the top.
Yeah.
And afterwards, I was like, I didn't even say I love working with you, which I do. I promise. But it's interesting, but we've gotten way better at it.
I think
How long has it been
you
now?
asked what would you do, or what advice would you give? I think the best thing that we've done is put some like really strong rules and boundaries in place, and like the number one that we have for each other is like, if it's outside of work hours, and we're like, you know, sitting around the table having breakfast or lying in bed watching a movie or whatever, and something pops in one of our minds, like, which happens all the time, right?
Of course.
Rather than just like blurting it out, like we've always got to ask the other person, like, is it all right to talk about work now? And so
I love
you know,
that.
75% of the time Chloe will say no, 75% of the time I'll say yes.
How can you say yes
All the
I'm trying to
time.
think of like a time that you said no. You're happy to always go there. I'm always like, no, I'm
Not now.
relaxed. I
Yeah.
don't want to get into it.
Yeah.
But that's like allowed us to like make sure that when we're having conversations, we are having them in a healthy environment. And I think that sets us up for a healthy relationship.
We're also like, we're pretty good at like, if we're at home the end of the day, we're okay at switching off usually, unless it's a really intense time. We actually don't want to sit around and talk about work. Like when you spend all day together and it's just work, we don't want to, I don't know, neither of us really want to go home and just like continue. We want to just tune out.
Historically, like my work's probably been a bit more intense than Chloe's, and I used to come home from a day of work and like Chloe would be like, so tell me about your day. I'm like, the last thing I want to do is talk about my day. And now she finally gets it. It used to drive her nuts. She'd be like, tell me what you did. Like I'd like, she'd have to like draw it out of me, and now it's like she doesn't want to know.
Well, especially
Now I know too much. Now he just talks really loud on calls and meetings. I'm like, can you just
Shh, I'm trying to chill. Yeah, no, I get it, right? Like it was the same as my ex and I. Like when we were living together, we had this rule where, you know, he worked in the hospitality industry. I, you know, run my business, and we were like, when I was working from home a lot. So I would have this feeling of like, when he got home, I was like, hey, how was your day? I've literally not spoken to anybody, like other than the people through my screen.
Yes.
My only interaction has been like me going out to get coffee or pick up my dry cleaning. And so when he got home, I was like, a person, like, I'm excited to see you. Tell me about your day. And so we actually ended up having this conversation because otherwise he'd get home, we'd get straight into like the spicy boy chat and like what's happening with this brand now that you finished your job here. And we were like, no, we both have like an hour of like decompressing. When you get home, it's like a, hey, there's no like, how was your day? And it was like, we give each other the hour. He might go out for a surf. I might continue working. And then after that hour, it's like, okay, you've kind of had a bit of your time and then you come back together. Is there anything you do differently when it comes to working together? Looking back now at the last few years?
I think we've got it pretty good. Like, to be honest, I think we had one argument about work in the first few weeks, and we haven't really had an argument about work.
I do want to say, like, working with you, it's nice. The amazing thing about it is, like, I trust you more than anyone else in the whole world. So, like, it's nice to be in business with someone that you literally trust with your life wholeheartedly, no questions. That's like a really nice thing. Whereas if you have a co-founder like that isn't someone that you're married to or related to or that you love, then the trust wouldn't be there as much. So that's like a real positive. And also I've been able, like, for me, I'm pregnant, but like earlier in the pregnancy was really hard for me. I was really sick, and to work with someone who's your co-founder who gets that more than anyone else. Phil could pick up the slack for me and like help me out and without me feeling guilty about it. Whereas if it was a co-founder that was just a co-founder, that would be really hard.
I think we've also been lucky that, like, touch wood, for the first 18 months that we've been in market, like, the business has really gone from strength to strength. And like, I think the real challenges will come for us when things aren't going so well, and that will happen eventually. Like, it's not going to be perfect forever. And like, I think that will be probably the next test for us working together of like, how do we manage when things are harder and more challenging? I'm sure we'll be fine. But like, we've been blessed to now that, like, for the most part, it's all been happy days.
Too blessed to be stressed. I love it.
Still definitely stressed.
Sounds so crazy.
But somewhat blessed.
Breeze. I love it.
Let's go with that.
Now, before we get into, you know, what's coming, what's happening in Nala's future, what trends are you guys seeing? I think one of the things that I love about the variety of industries that we work from everyone from banks and insurance companies all the way through to like cosmetic injectors and tiny startups and everything in between. And what I love is that there's so many trends that you can see happening in one industry that you know will come and hit that other industry, but they're probably not even thinking about it because they're so engrossed in their own kind of lane or industry. What are some kind of trends that you see kind of round the corner when it comes to underwear and fashion, even though you've only spent the last 2.5, 3 years in that kind of space?
We when we were talking about this question before the interview, and to be honest, we didn't have a good answer.
Love it.
And part of the reason is because, like, I think neither of us like have been immersed in this industry for our whole careers, and I wouldn't say that like we grew up thinking, oh, we're going to run a fashion business one day. And so what that's actually created is us to probably look at things really objectively, and like we probably, this is going to sound a bit lame, but like don't pay that much attention to the trends because we're like, okay, we think this would be good. We're hearing this from our customers, and like become very customer focused opposed to like trend focused, if that makes sense. And so, yeah, I don't know if we've like got some trend up on our whiteboard being like, oh, we've got to get on that trend, otherwise we're going to miss out. I think it's more about just the way we kind of think about product development is like, our customers keep asking for this, let's make it. And so
that's literally
how we do it.
But I think that's the best way to do it. Like I always say, like when we have clients that are like, oh, my competitor's doing this, I'm like, stop looking at what they're doing. Because if you're focusing on your competitor and your competitor is focusing on your customer, you're always going to be one step behind.
And in our industry, it takes 12 months to develop anything anyway, right? So like, let's say someone's come out with some trendy whatever, like by the time you get to market, too late.
You're too late. So you have to focus on your customer and what they want. With that in mind then, what are they asking for? What are you going to give the people in the next 6 to 12 months?
So we have a big
Other than a baby.
A little Nala baby.
A little Nala baby. Nala Junior is coming.
Of course. We have our biggest product release and collection release since we launched Nala coming up in the middle of the year. And we're very excited about it. This has been something that has also been a huge request from a lot of our customers. We've been hearing most of the request is for cotton underwear.
Yep.
Breathable cotton underwear. When we looked into it, cotton isn't very sustainable. It takes a lot of water to produce.
Okay.
You can get recycled cottons, but we didn't really think that was sort of good enough. We spent like a year trying to find a new fabric, and we're coming out with a new collection called Better Than Cotton in July, which is very exciting.
We like saw the
And it's going to be better than cotton.
it's going to be better than cotton.
It's better
like,
than cotton.
We saw our pre-production samples yesterday actually, and like everyone was just like touching them, and it's like
I
the
can't stop-
yummiest
You know,
fabric.
like I feel like a bit creepy when I'm like touching the fabric because I just like sit there. I'm just like, this is the best thing in the whole world. I can't stop
Amazing. But
touching.
I'm like, you have to be obsessed with it, right?
Yeah. So we wanted to search for something that could more than just like tick a box, say
Love.
like this is recycled.
Yeah.
But the fabric is a modal. It uses 10 to 20 times less water to produce than cotton, but super moisture wicking, softest thing you'll ever feel. Like yummy. You just want to like wear it all the time.
Made from beech tree. I always get this
Cellulose.
cellulose.
Yeah, trees. It comes from beech trees. It's a comfy range of soft, yummy underwear that you just want to wear every day, but it still has that Nala edge. It still feels cool. It's not Nana undies. Nothing
We love
else.
nanas as
We
well.
love
They're
nanas.
nanas buy our products.
Your Nana wears our products.
I love that.
Kill me for saying that on mic, but we're listening.
I love that. So middle of the year, we have a date TBC.
End
middle
of
the
July.
year.
End
End
of
of
July.
July.
It's coming out. We've got new products within
Okay.
the range, and it's a whole new collection of products that I'm just going to wear on repeat.
Amazing. And if people haven't bought or worn Nala before this collection, why should they buy this collection?
Well, it is a collection designed for comfort, but also super supportive. It follows the same ethics that the rest of our collection follows. We cater for a range of sizes, cup sizes from A to, oh no, what does our new one go to? H, I think.
Not sure.
Oh no.
H-ish.
H-ish, sorry. I forgot. To H cups and then also up to a 6XL in our briefs.
Yep.
It is beautiful and comfortable, but when you put it on, it's going to make you feel sexy and confident and amazing.
Honestly, the reaction everyone has when they put it on for the first time is like, this is the most comfortable thing I've ever put on my body.
Yeah.
And so like that is what we're going for with this range. And so if we can achieve that, then we'll have some more happy customers.
I can't wait to release it as well.
Yeah.
I really can't.
Well, this episode will come out just before you release it.
Great.
Yeah.
So if you do want to shop it, we're going to include the link in the show notes as to where you can get it from.
And a sneaky discount code.
And there'll be a discount code. Stop it.
What's the discount code? You said you were going to make it up on the spot.
I know.
We can make one up.
Come on.
It's stressing me out.
Better than cotton 15. You get 15% off. There you go.
Better than cotton 15. I love it. We'll include that in the show notes as well. Now, before we wrap up, I always have some quick fire questions that we ask every single one of our guests, and you can both answer. They don't have to be quick, but they're just kind of quick fire in terms of the nature of them. What is one brand that comes to mind for both of you?
I'll go. Nike. I'm a sports loving guy, so it's a bit cliche, but yeah, I just think their storytelling and the brand that they've created is like second to none. And even though such a different industry, such a different customer, often take such inspiration of things that they do.
Love it.
I'll go Ganni.
Ganni.
So cool, but
Yeah.
also just doing the coolest stuff in the sustainability world as well.
Yeah,
think
I
they're
love
really like creating. Oh, what am I trying to say? New. Can you edit this? Sorry.
It's okay.
I feel like they're doing new and innovative things that have not been done before in the industry.
Pregnancy brain, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's fine. But I'm not pregnant and I think like that 90% of the time, so you're good. Outside of Nala, obviously, they're the two brands that come to your top of mind. Now, what is one thing that you think that helps keep a brand top of mind in your own experience, but also, you know, when you think of a brand like you did just then, what is the one thing that helps keep that brand top of mind for you?
I think newness.
Yeah.
Newness and innovation.
Yeah, it doesn't just have to be with product, right?
Yeah.
Like I think just constantly doing new, high quality, cool things, I think keeps brands top of mind. And so we sort of look at our marketing calendar for the next 12 months all the time. And sure, some of it's new products, better than cotton, or we're doing maternity later in the year, like whatever it is. But like in those times where it's not new product, okay, what other things can you be doing that are like going to get your message across and make engage your community? And so we're constantly trying to come up with those ideas as well.
I love that. Last but not least, because I'm obsessed with quotes and I have them everywhere, one of the jokes that my friends have said over the years is that I should have a coffee book table that has full of all the quotes that I've shared over time. And I really want to do that, but I want to include everybody else's quotes in it that I interview. What is a quote that's top of mind for you, or something that you guys have kind of, reminded yourself of? It doesn't have to be super like impactful or full of wisdom or anything like that, but just something that, is top of mind for you guys throughout this journey of building your business.
I'm going to go back to what we said before. You got to risk it to get the biscuit.
I love it.
You need to say the one you were saying non-stop a couple of weeks ago. What was it? The branch, and you kept getting it wrong. The branch of the tree.
I can't even remember.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
Something about a brand.
I think like it's similar to clothes, but like I think the approach that like just being all in. I think like we've taken that approach to Nala. Like we really went from the start, and every day we're sort of still all in. And I think that's been a huge driver of where we've got to so far. So yeah.
I love it. No risk, no story.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
You certainly wouldn't have a story if you didn't take the risk. Thank you so much for sitting with me today. I've loved getting to understand your backgrounds and kind of how the brand has grown into the beast that it is today. And I think it will continue to grow because of how ingrained you guys are in the values that you set out for yourselves from day one. I can't wait to interview you guys again in like 3 years' time and see where the business is from there. But thank you so much for spending time with me today.
Thank you. It's been great. Appreciate it.
Before you go, help us grow and reach more people by hitting the subscribe button and leaving us a review. You can also follow us on Instagram and TikTok at topofmind.pod.